Studio, I have with me Ifoma Odie, Mr. Ogochukwu. Good evening, how are you doing?
Good evening.
Good. All right, we're going straight to the stories that we have. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has formally requested Senate approval to deploy Nigerian troops to Benin Republic. This request comes at a time when ECOWAS is raising the alarm over a regional emergency, driven by increasing coup, political instability, and worsening insecurity across West Africa. Nigeria's potential true deployment could reshape security cooperation in the region. We'll also look at ECOWAS emergency declaration, what triggered it and what it means for member states, and whether the regional bloc still holds enough influence to keep the region from sliding further into instability. So let's start first with what is going on with Benin Republic and Nigeria. Nigeria has played a huge role in restoring democracy to Benin Republic. We heard that from the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu himself. Now we are seeing today he has requested from the Senate that wrote a letter to the Senate that he wants to send Nigerian troops to Benin Republic. Let's take a look at what happened in the Senate House and then we'll return to the studio.
President of the Senate, distinguished Senate President, requests for the consent of the Senate for the deployment of Nigerian troops to the Republic of Benin for peace mission. Pursuant to Section 5, Subsection 5, Part 2, of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended, I seek further to consultation with the National Defense Council, the consent of the Senate for the deployment of Nigerian troops to the Republic of Benin. This request is made further to a request received from the government of Benin Republic for the exceptional and immediate provision of air support by the armed forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The distinguished Senate may wish to note that the government of the Republic of Benin is currently faced with an attempted unconstitutional seizure of power and disruption and destabilization of democratic institutions. The situation, as reported by the government of Benin, requires urgent external intervention. The Distinguished Senate, considering the close ties of brotherhood and friendship which exist between Nigeria and the Republic of Benin, as well as the principles of collective security upheld within ECOWAS, it is our duty to provide the support as requested by the government of the Republic of Benin. While it is my hope that the Senate will consider and approve this request expeditiously, please accept, distinguished Senate President, distinguished senators, the assurances of my highest consideration and personal regards. Yours sincerely, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, President, Commander-in-Chief, Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. This request for consent is committed to the Committee of the Whole for immediate action.
Just watch right now the letter to the Senate House, because I remember earlier when the president sent troops to Benin Republic to go and halt the coup attempt, people were doubting or questioning the legality of that particular was delegation or deployment, because in in the Constitution. Yes, we know that under the 1999 Constitution, Section 5, subsection 5 of the 1999 Constitution, it says that the president have the power to deploy troops when there is a situation of imminent, threat to neighboring countries or other countries. So people were now questioning, why is it that the president did not seek approval from the Senate House before they can send, or before he can send troops to other countries to halt the coup attempt there. But we equally saw in the same constitution that the president still have up to 14 days or 2 weeks rather to send approval, send a letter to the Senate House for approval. So which the president has already done in the second day of sending troops to this. So I think that is it has already captured the entire constitution, and you could see that the president is turning in the right direction. But at the same time, we equally questioned, why will the president send troops immediately Benin called onto Nigerians' help or assistance when we still have a lot going on in Nigeria? Why is it that the Benin Republic have to call Nigerian first? But if you look at it, we are still a neighboring country to Benin Republic. So, and President Tinubu is more like the chairman of ECOWAS right now. So that is why we are seeing him being the point of call or point of delegation for defense for this particular coup. But at the end of the day, we know that there are a lot of insecurity in Nigeria. So Nigerians are asking, why is it that the president did not focus on insecurity in Nigeria rather than sending troops to go and intervene in other countries' affairs? All
right. So, Mr. Ugochukwu, we just saw now that the Senate has approved that the troops be sent to Benin Republic, and just the same question I asked the former, what are your thoughts?
First, I think I would have a different view. I think what the Constitution particularly says is that when there is a threat to the sovereignty of Nigeria as a country, not to its neighboring countries, that is when the president can go into full military actions against the invaders of our country.
No, other countries too.
That is if it affects our country, because you would first have to take care of yourself before taking care of other people. But the point I'm trying to make is that it is just like you say, it is good that he's taking proper approval from the Senate now. I think I just have to agree with what you said. Another thing we have to question is the reason why he is doing these things for Benin Republic. I mean, he's doing a good deed, so it is commendable. But then, while you are doing good for others, here at home, we are not faring very well. The country is plunged into insecurity. Terrorists and bandits are abducting people, taking lives and property. So I feel if the government can channel the enthusiasm towards this cross-country issue into our own internal affairs, it will do better. They will be represented well abroad, and then in their own country as well, they will be praised.
All right. Now, let's also talk about the fact that Nigeria is facing insecurity. How do you think this deployment might affect the capacity of the Nigerian military to handle the insurgency we're facing back home in Nigeria?
I think the only thing that I'm quite concerned about is the funds that went into it, because I know before these jets left to go and halt whatever happened in Benin Republic, a lot of finances were involved, and I asked, why is it that these finances were not involved in kind of restoring our democracy? Why is it that this particular finance was not channeled to improving the lives of people living in Nigeria? There are other countries that under ECOWAS that Benin Republic can actually call on to for restoration of peace and order in their states. They already, I don't know if they are aware of how serious Nigerian issue is. One day we are having 300 people being abducted, the other day we are having 150 people, 40, and the rest of them. We need to focus on our own territory. We need to focus on what is going on in Nigeria. Those military men that you are sending to other countries, we can actually make good use of them in combating and fighting insecurity in Nigeria. Why sending them? See, this Nigeria don't tire me.
So I'm coming to you, Mr. Ugochukwu, just slightly the same question I asked. What do you think might be the financial implication now of having these troops sent to Benin Republic at this time?
Well, we know it costs so much. It is expensive to use fighter jets during this type of action they perform. So it's quite expensive. But I think the answer to the question Mr. Farmer was asking is simple. I've said it before that France is involved in this. You know, they are pushing. Ordinarily, Nigeria would not. They are not a country that are overzealous about doing the right thing. So it does not even bother them. It is only because of the influence being, you know, they are feeling the heat, the pressure from France. That is why we see them working so much, because it doesn't make sense why they are doing all these things while in our own country we are not secure. So I think basically the reason is that France is influencing the whole thing. And yes, the financial implication is it is so much. I know it will cost the country a lot, but I mean, not at the expense of losing their relationship with France.
All right, so you're saying they're trying to maintain that relationship that they have with France. Now, also, Ifoma, what do you think are the risks here for our Nigerian military that are already there? Let's also recall that in Burkina Faso, we have 11 military officers that are currently being detained in Burkina Faso.
I think I've just stated it clearly. That these are military men, would have made good use of them to fight insecurity in Nigeria that is currently ravaging the entire nation, than sending them off. Now we have people in Benin Republic, but I mean they bombed there and they returned back to base. I hope so. And then the one in what is it called? I'm yet to hear from the president. We're yet to hear an official statement from the president on how to get the military men that had been held in Burkina Faso back to Nigeria. But at the same time, like I said earlier, these are things that we're not even supposed to be reacting to. These are things that the government is supposed to, have prior note or information of. These are something that the government is supposed to, act on. You get... God, seriously, it's tiring talking about this every single time.
We're still talking about regions here, and we're seeing ECOWAS being mentioned in the news, but they've come out now to declare a regional emergency. And, I'm just coming to you, Mr. Ugochukwu. What do you think this entails generally?
It just proves one thing, that in these West African states, that they are not politically stable. It's just affirming one thing. The international bodies now will be seeing us as people who are not politically mature. Because for you to hear instances of coups, or failed ones, attempted ones, it just means that you are not responsible enough to, civilly take care of your, run a government. Let's take the United States for an example. It's been years since we heard about even attempted coup in the United States. It's simple, because democracy is it's respected there, and the only reason why someone would neglect that is if the persons or the government in power is not doing well. We all know that the main reason for coups is political instability. When the government is not doing well, either maybe economically or security-wise, and we see that more often in the West African states. And this state of it was something like a state of emergency, right?
Yes.
It just confirms that the Africans, it portrays us as people who are not politically mature.
And Ifeoma, do you think the same thing too?
Okay, I think the intention for me, I feel like the intention of ECOWAS declaring this state of emergency is more like to prevent more, political or democratic breakdown in the states that they manage. We know of recently, this 2025, that about 3 countries have withdrawn from ECOWAS. We have Mali, we have Burkina Faso, and we have one other country. I can't remember the other country. So they are trying to, as much as possible, to reassure reassert, or rather still show that, okay, they are still in at the what's it called, at the helm of affairs. They are still holding, you know, powers. But at the same time, we've had a lot, just like what Mr. Go said. We have, you know, attempted coups over the years, and even this recent one we've been having from Burkina Faso of recent in 2022, they had their own coup, and we know that is the military that is now heading their government. Now we equally heard about the one in Benin Republic of late. So it's more like this whole thing is happening every single time. So it's to show that, oh, we are African countries where we can actually manage our nation. But at the end of the day, you still ask, where is democracy in everything? But I love the fact that they've taken the initiative to, you know, call emergency. I hope there is implementation, and I hope that there is follow through.
All right. Now, how do you think, Mr. Gochuku, this might affect just cross-border trade now that you've called a state of emergency?
Well, between countries that have a democratically elected presidents and military heads of states, it's going to be rough, obviously. I think that's more of the reason why this state of emergency is needed, because it will actually give us a sense of responsibility that we ought to treat democracy as it should be treated. So when we have these things now, when states who have a democratically elected presidents or even the heads of states, when they trade very well economically and socially, it will seem as though the ones who have military heads of states are being left out, because most times these military personnel who are in power, they find it hard to cooperate with every other person. So once this happens, it will affect their country, and if their citizens are actually active politically, they would begin to, you know, not actually like these people, and gradually it's not something that is easy, because you don't argue with the man with the gun, but gradually democracy ought to be restored.
Okay. Now, but what do you think, this state of emergency, what do you think, Ifoma, this could mean for Nigeria, being the largest member state of ECOWAS? Now they've declared a state of emergency regionally.
Okay, okay, maybe ask the question again.
I'm asking, right? So what do you think this means for Nigeria, being a member of ECOWAS, but, you know, in this time being the largest member? How do you see that state of emergency affecting Nigeria?
Okay, I don't really see it affecting Nigeria, to be honest, because I think it's to restore, the main intent is to restore democracy. So I'm seeing it affecting Nigeria on the positive side, because I think for a very long time we've lost democracy. So maybe that is an attempt to restore democracy to, you know, Nigeria at large. But at the same time, it's not about headlines, it's the follow through that matters at the end of the day. So if we see an overhaul, and if we see positive moves or movements towards restoring democracy, we'll know definitely that the state of emergency is working. If not, it's still headlines.
And Mr. Ogochukwu, what do you as well think could this mean for Nigeria being a member of ECOWAS?
Well, Nigeria being a member of ECOWAS and they are one of the people who are engaging actively in this quest to restore democracy back in Benin Republic, it just sends a message to them that, you know, it does not end at coming out to help others fix your problem, like I have always been saying. It's like Ifoma said, it's just telling us that we should actually, it's not just about headlines saying we practice a democratic system of government. It should actually show in our practice. If you look at Nigeria as a country, you would see how I would say Nigeria is running without a constitution, even though we have one there. It's just like a ceremonial thing to have a constitution. So I feel this is a message for Nigeria, since they are one of the people who are on the front line of these things, trying to restore democracy to another country. It's just telling them, look, you have to do better at your home before coming out to help other people.
All right.
And I hope they really take that advice.
All right. Now, finally, what do you think is going to be the most realistic way that West Africa can really restore democracy, or do you think that possibility has gone with the wind, Ifoma?
Okay, maybe let me just bank on hope. I believe, first of all, the first step here is we have that should be upcoming election 2027. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing stability to a very large extent. I'm looking forward to seeing free and fair election in 2027 if truly we can count democracy in Nigeria, or if truly we can say, okay, that economic of community of West African states is really working or is really effective in, you know, African countries. Let's see free and fair election being conducted in 2027. And maybe security, tightening of security in Nigeria in general. So.
Mr. Ugochukwu, do you have any suggestions as to how they can maybe just tighten this and ensure that going forward that there's stability in West Africa?
Well, I think that the problem of Africans have always been a failure of leadership. So I do not think that any amount of sensitization can actually restore democracy. What I feel we do it is the leaders who are ready to lead and followers mindful of their rights to also you know, hold the leaders accountable. You know, when someone has made decisions that we are not going through this route, I don't think there is anything you are saying they sanction those states, but how effective are those sanctions? Does it really affect them? And if it does, do they even care about it? So it's not about calling meetings, calling conferences, spending large amounts of money on peace summits. It's all about leaders. We need to raise leaders from our societies, leaders who embodies the characters of a true leader, a leader who will help uphold this democracy, because it's not something that is done once. So it has to be a collective duty that
and a continuous effort as well.
Exactly.
All right, thank you very much, Ifoma Oji and Mr. Ugochukwu for joining me on the conversation today. If you're joining for the first time, this is Active Citizens Parliament, where we discuss Nigerian politics. If you're yet to subscribe to our YouTube, this is the best time to go about that. And follow us across all socials at Active Citizens. You can find me as well across all social media at Sharon Enemchukwu. And you, Ifoma.
You can find me on Facebook at Oji Sophia and on Instagram at Misolex.
Mr. Ugochukwu.
You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and X at Ugochukwu Afuba.
All right, till we see you tomorrow. Do have a pleasant evening.